Hi, welcome to this week's GTA 5 o'clock. I'm Tim Weaver. I'm here with Dan Dawkins. How you doing, Dan?
Very good, thanks.
Last week we couldn't find you, Dan. Obviously the readers and listeners were really concerned about you, where you got to. I speculated that maybe you'd been cast adrift out to sea, but in fact I think you just had the day off.
Yeah, it wasn't at sea. I mean, I was actually just in the loo then, and I thought, where was I last Wednesday? And then it came to me that I wasn't in fact trapped in some kind of hangover-style memory lapse, but I was in fact on holiday with my family. Okay,
that's a good excuse. So this week, two things to talk about. One is something that we're going to get onto in a sec. Dan's very inventively called 26 Things You Didn't Know About GTA. But first, let me say that in the next couple of weeks, we're on the cusp of having something very, very exciting to feature in this series of GTA 5 o'clocks. We can't really talk about it beyond that, so sorry to be a massive tease about it, but we think it'll be really, really worth your while tuning in. So keep listening. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, because it'll definitely be worth your while. In the meantime, Dan, let's crack on. 26 things we didn't know about GTA. Go!
One thing to be clear about is we're definitely not running out of information about GTA 5. No, sir.
No.
There's loads to say about GTA 5, and we're certainly not stalling until that brilliant news runs down the pipe.
Yeah. We should say that a few of these things in here do have some connection to GTA 5, so it's not, we haven't completely gone off reservation here. Also, before Dan kicks off, I must just also thank everyone who commented on last week's Vehicles special. We're really impressed actually by the feedback we've had, and from people who know the series so well, scarily well. So thank you very much for your comments and for putting us right in the small areas, obviously, that we may have got slightly wrong. But so, Dan, let's do this week. Let's talk things we didn't know about the GTA series.
Cool. And in all seriousness, you may know some of these. Hopefully, whether you have any interest in GTA 5 or the GTA series, this will be interesting.
Okay.
Number one.
This
might be more commonly known, but GTA 3 was affected by the 9/11 incident.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Rockstar are based in New York, and the rumour was that as a mark of respect, the cop car decals were changed from blue and white to black and white within the game. And there's a set of missions, apparently, around a terrorist called Darkle, and that was rumoured to be cut.
Right.
Now, Rockstar apparently have disputed this, saying only 1% of the game was changed. But I do remember at the time, there was some talk of things going different, and that was it.
See, James and I had a discussion on last week's episode about things that were perhaps changed in the aftermath of 9/11 in subsequent GTA games. So that would have included GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 4. And I mean, a couple of commenters picked me up on it, and so I may be remembering this wrong, but I do remember somewhere in the dim and distant past them talking about not bringing aeroplanes to Liberty City and GTA 4. Now, it could have been because the map was too small, but I distinctly remember at some point them talking about 9/11 and maybe it wasn't appropriate to be able to fly aeroplanes in a version of New York, and so it's something that's sort of obviously resonated deeply with them, as it has with all New Yorkers, I guess, since 2001.
Yeah, and it's something, again, I don't want to speculate any further because people out there will probably know.
Yeah.
Let us know in comments if you know the exact reasoning and share the links.
Yeah.
Number 2, an assassination mission. That's easy for me to say.
It's easy for you
in
to
Grand
say.
Theft Auto 3 sees you hunting a black-suited character called Tanner, who's called Strangely Animated.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
Our source in the police has informed us that one of our drivers is a strangely animated undercover cop.
Yeah, I remember this from reading this way past. Tanner, of course, being from the Driver series.
From Driv 3R.
Driv 3R,
now,
yeah.
I remember going up to Newcastle to see Reflections, who made Driv 3R, and having a very impressive spiel about how they were going to take Grand Theft Auto on, and they were going to go on foot, and it was a massive shake-up for the series, and the gun sections would feel like a stunning action movie.
Yeah.
And then it was all this amazing talk and sort of bravado, and at the end of the day they were like, so what are we going to see of this actual driver then? And then what we did see was like an impressive physics demo of a car that fell to bits in different sections.
Right.
And it drove, and the car wheel was flapping, and the car door was wobbling, and it was all like, this is great. And I remember sitting with Martin Evanson and going, so, about those walking and shooting bits, what are they going to be then? And he went, oh, trust me, they're going to be great. Just great. Nothing to really see yet, but they're going to be great. Really, like, it made, and again, bless him, I mean, he probably had the best intentions.
Yeah.
Let's just say it probably didn't work out, and it was a fairly safe target for GTA 3 to do the strangely animated Tanner,
yeah,
once again, not easy for me to say, in the ill-fated Driver 3 on foot sections.
Interesting also there, I mean, this is GTA 3, so we're talking, a long time ago now, but interesting. That's an interesting example of how difficult it must be to kind of get the driving and the walking and running around and the combat, everything kind of into the mix, and perhaps give some indication as to why GTA 5 might have been delayed, because the more, obviously, every GTA has been incrementally more ambitious, and it's not just about getting the driving and the shooting and the running around right now. It's about getting the world feeling right and everything working in the world and all sorts of different...
I'd like it if they came out and go, why is GTA 5 delayed? Well, to be honest, it's because we're having problems making the character walk.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, right. Not your ambitious online plans then, or the imminence of next generation. No, just the legs.
Yeah.
Can't get them working. Number 3. The original idea for GTA, before it even had the name GTA, was that you played as a cop chasing down criminals in a large city.
Right.
And the role was reversed because the team thought it would be more fun.
Yeah. Of course, back in the day, it was DMA, wasn't it?
Yep, DMA design.
What was it called originally before Grand?
Well, number 4.
Oh, here we go.
When the original concept document was written in 1995 and leaked online quite recently, the game's first name was Race and Chase.
That's right, Race and Chase, yeah.
And it included many elements that we know and love today, including, well, like freedom to move about, stealing cars, being able to run over pedestrians. Ho ho, what a chuckle. And that would eventually make it into the finished game.
I remember seeing Grand Theft Auto up at DMA. I got flown up to Dundee to see it when it's been. It shows how old I am. And I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing, but it's a bit naughty, because for the time. Because I think around about that time was Carmageddon as well, and that was... I can't remember. I don't think it was very good. Or at least I didn't think it was that good. But then I saw Race and Chase, so I think it would already be called Grand Theft Auto by then, and I was just like totally blown away by it.
A slight tangent, I remember when GTA 3 first arrived on PlayStation 2, and it had been talked about in a feature in official PlayStation magazine at the time, and it was like the first thing we'd seen of the game. And it did look, absolutely amazing, and the plans were incredibly ambitious. But weirdly, nobody saw absolutely anything of the game until the review copy came
that's
in.
right, I remember that.
And it was almost this sense of, they've talked the talk, the game's come in late, and classically that was the sign of a totally duff game.
Yeah.
And I remember my flatmate, who at the time was deputy editor or editor of official PlayStation magazine, and I watched him play it every night for like 3 hours for like a week or two. And I could tell he was very clearly enjoying it, but he almost couldn't believe the evidence of his own eyes that it was that good. And I remember him turning to me and saying, "It can't be that good, can it?" And completely glibly, I said something like, "No, probably not. It's just a giant illusion. You think you're enjoying it," or something to that extent.
But you do have that. No, but you do have those moments of self. So you become very conscious of the fact that, because I remember that as well. I got a copy of it. I think I was on a Nintendo mag at the time, so I'm not sure how I managed to get my copy from Rockstar, but they were very kind enough to send me a copy. And I remember getting home and having the exact same feeling about GTA 3. It was like, wait a second, this is amazing. Why hasn't anyone at any stage even talked about this? It's incredible, And because I played the first 2 GTAs, I wasn't a great fan of GTA London, but I really liked GTA and GTA 2. But GTA 3 was just like a whole different kettle of fish. It was like the switch to 3D, and it just had so much kind of layered into it. It was incredible.
Transformational, which brings us to number 5. The character of Niko Bellic was based on Vladimir Mashkov's character from the film Behind Enemy Lines.
Oh.
And that's according to an interview on a Russian talk show. Mashkov was offered the chance to voice the character, but cleverly turned it down.
That was a great idea, wasn't it? I wonder if it was him who turned it down or his agent.
I don't know. One thing I will say is he's definitely not besmirched his credibility. That Vladimir Mashkov, he stood up for his integrity.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
There might have been other reasons he turned it down.
Yeah, maybe he had some work on or something.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe he was thinking about number 6. Rapper Young Malay, who voiced CJ Johnson in GTA San Andreas, had never acted before. He was chosen after he was overheard on a phone call while Rockstar and DJ Pooh, P-O-O-H, were meeting about the game's music.
Really? God, that's a bit of a risk, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Young Malay at the time, I remember him saying he's a hot... Because 50 Cent was tipped to be in San Andreas.
Yeah, that's right, I remember
the lead
that,
guy,
yeah.
and that was a lot of hot talk about that. And I think 50 Cent was probably talking it up.
Well, was he in it? Was he in it at all, or? Because there was a lot of buzz about him being in it, wasn't there? Maybe the commenters can let us know.
Yeah, commenters can let us know. And if he was in it, it could only be in the same way Michael Jackson was in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
As like a parody style mental patient or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, so we'll see. Number 7. Why were there no bikes in GTA 3?
Is it because they weren't able to design them in time?
Yeah, that was pretty obvious actually, that one, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Rockstar claimed they were banned in Liberty City between 1999 and 2001, when in reality they just couldn't do bikes.
Right.
It's 2 wheels, hard to do, you know.
But they had them in Vice City, didn't they? Introduced them for Vice City.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were always in Vice City. I never really liked the bikes. They were all a little bit a gentle turn to the left, and suddenly you were scraping your face along the road.
Yeah, in fact, I suppose it was like riding a dangerous high-performance motorbike.
I suppose it was.
180 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which I've obviously got experience of.
Yeah.
And would know. Number 8, the first GTA game on Xbox, which is part of the double pack, was developed using the Renderware graphics engine, which is actually created by the Burnout developers Criterion.
That's right, yeah.
And this generic, well, not generic, like this graphics software was used in a large variety of games during that era, and also used in Vice City and San Andreas.
There you go. Criterion stepping up.
Places glasses higher up head. Number 9, Australia. Not just anything about Australia, but those pesky Australian censors weren't very happy with GTA 3, and they got rid of the bit about, surprisingly, killing prostitutes after killing them under grounds of sexual violence, and they did exactly the same in Vice City the following year.
Yeah, well, the Australians have got a long and illustrious history of banning stuff, haven't they? Because famously in Australia, they, until recently anyway, they only had a 15 certificate was as high as it went. Was it really? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying that. Now you've made me doubt myself. No, I'm going to stick to my guns. That is exactly what they had, because they've just brought in. They've either just brought in or in the process of bringing in an 18 certificate, so that they can. That's why games like Gears, definitely stuff like Riddick, I think, was banned and all that sort of stuff because it had extreme swears in it and lots of violence, and they wouldn't give it a certificate.
On the theme of extreme swears, I was going to call them extreme fwares, which is some new word I've invented. The San Andreas features 365 instances of the F word. Really? Yep. And that's one of the many reasons that tabloids weren't very happy with it.
No. It did have a lot of swears, but the other games had plenty of swears though, didn't they?
The other GTAs?
Yeah. Like GTA 4 has got tons of swears in it.
Well, yeah, this is after the F trail was blazed by GTA San Andreas. I see what you mean, yeah. Now, I thought this is a fun bit of comparison. If San Andreas contains 365 F words, I thought, well, you know, what is the F record in cinema? Yeah. Now, I won't say the absolute number one, because it's the clue's in the title of that particular film, but the previous sort of proper film winner was Summer of Sam. Do you remember that film?
Yeah, was that the Spike Lee one? Mm. Yeah, I don't remember that having loads of swearing in it.
Well, you'd have missed out then on 435 uses of the F word.
Really?
Yeah.
Blimey.
That's astonishing, isn't it? And by comparison, Reservoir Dogs, which I remember was notoriously sweary, only had 269 F words. Right. But the all-time F word use winner in cinema is a documentary called it's actually, the swear word, and it's a 2005 documentary, and it contains 824 uses of the F word, which in a 93-minute movie breaks down as 8 F words per minute.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's more than one every 10 seconds, Tim.
I'd like to see how, I know you're talking about cinema specifically, but I'd like to see how the TV show Deadwood sits in there. Now, Deadwood has got an extreme amount of swears in it. I can't say how many, but it's got like, I read somewhere like 2,000 uses of the F word in its first season. So that's a lot of swears. What's that breakdown? Like 20? No, that can't be right. Anyway, someone will be able to clarify, because it's got loads. But also, the thing about Deadwood is it's not just the F words. It's plenty of C-bombs too.
Well, one thing about the F word is it fills you full of number 11, rage. Look at these awful segues I'm producing. Rockstar developed their own engine, the Rage engine, which was an acronym for Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, and it used middleware from other companies, including Euphoria, character animation, and bullet physics. And this was Rockstar's sort of big entry into next gen on PlayStation 3. And I remember it was debuted in the seminal Rockstar title, Table Tennis.
Table tennis, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of F words in that.
Yeah, there were a lot of F words. I wouldn't like to say how many.
That corrupted my youth, even though I was quite old.
But Euphoria's gone on to play a massive part in the series, isn't it? Like the old getting the old face scrapage on the floor and getting thrown from vehicles, thrown from bikes, getting shot in GTA 4, getting shot realistically and limping away and all that sort of stuff. It's become a sort of almost like a calling card for Rockstar games.
Which brings us to number 12. Now, this, as you'll know because we talk about this every week, the GTA universe features many fictional law agencies. Now, like Noose are fictional SWAT teams, the FIB, as we know, are a parody of the FBI, and the Bureau of Narcotics are based on the Drug Enforcement Administration, or the DEA.
Forgot about the CIA there, Dan.
Yeah.
Which is the IAA?
The IAA, it is. We've listened to ourselves,
yes,
and remembered it.
Because of course, in previous weeks we've talked about that famous mission where you fly the helicopter in and land on the roof of the IAA building.
Yeah, opposite the FIB building, inexplicably.
Yeah.
Number 13. Rockstar's obviously quite famous for its musical talent, but we've had many musicians providing their voices throughout the GTA series, including Debbie Harry, Ice-T, Iggy Pop, and Axl Rose. But 80s pop legend Phil Collins, and he is a legend,
went
one step further in Vice City Stories as he plays In the Air Tonight on stage, and you have to stop him being assassinated. What more noble quest than preventing the assassination of Phil Collins?
I've never played Vice City Stories, actually.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of the few GTAs I've never played, even though I love Vice City. And I heard about the Phil Collins thing, and it made me think, you know what, I wouldn't mind having... Who assassinates Phil Collins?
I don't know.
Oh, right.
Because I can't remember, because I don't think I played it either. But I saw the screenshots and went, that's really great. Phil Collins is in that, but it's on PSP, so I probably won't play it.
Okay. Talking of music, next door they seem to have struck up a little bit of a bit of music next door. So if you hear some music in the background, it's not Dan's mobile phone going off. It's someone next door playing sounds like Enya.
I thought you had a soundboard and you were pressing a button to play that sort of surging theme from the start of GTA 4, that that I can't even remember or do.
No,
and it's not true.
I certainly wasn't doing that.
It's literally the Philharmonic Orchestra who started next door.
Yeah.
Thanks. Number 14, Anti-Heroes. And it says there's been almost 40 Grand Theft Auto protagonists. And the early games offered a selection of characters, while later games focused on a single figure. Now, bizarrely, we've gone the other way again, because now we've got 3 heroes in GTA 5. It says GTA 4 was the first game to relate the player's multiple characters, well, via the DLC stories.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Is it me, or was Nico Bellic a massive douche?
I quite like Nico Bellic.
Not for me.
He'd have been better if he was played by old Mashikov.
I couldn't warm to Bellic. Couldn't warm to him.
Were you supposed to? I
don't know, maybe not. But like in Red Dead Redemption, like Marston, you're like, bang, I'm on board with Marston. That guy he's the right, he does what needs to be done for what he perceives to be the right reasons, and he's always maintains a good moral centre. And I know in GTA you need like grey areas and kind of characters, but what I like the look about in GTA 5 is that like characters like Michael look like they got a bit of like, I don't know, like it looks like there could be a bit of conflict in his mind about going in and doing these certain things, you know. Which is why I suppose they brought Trevor along for the ride, who's just the complete polar opposite, who's just like, let's do it. I don't care about who gets killed.
I think they're ticking off all the sort of character traits you like, and obviously rather than making one man a hideous schizophrenic, they've got 3 different characters to root for. Nico Bellic sort of struck me as like almost like a man who'd been grown out of a special DNA infused potato in a laboratory and given like rudimentary AI, so he could like perform basic activities and react like a cipher for your own emotions without injecting too much personality. So like, I'm very angry about this thing, I'll perform it. I'm essentially motivated by the mysterious disappearance of. And he was a bit, but actually, as it grew, I quite liked that. And like one of the penultimate missions called "Searching for that special someone" or "Looking for that special someone" featured what I thought at the time was a quite unrivaled moment of self-reflection, where the game sort of pointed its entire arc back at you and said, if you proceed with the action you spent the entire game seeking, you become everything you despise. And I thought that was quite a powerful moment, and something that I think that sort of narrative twist that Rockstar have pursued more as their games have grown and they've got more confident at telling stories. Now, number 15, shared universes. Other Rockstar games like Bully and Manhunt are set in the same universe as GTA.
Yeah, that's right,
Now, Manhunt's Casa City is frequently mentioned on the radio stations in GTA, and Bulworth Academy, which is the setting of Bully on PS2, is shown on the I'm Rich TV show in GTA 4. Which I wouldn't remember unless I was reading it.
No, I wouldn't remember that, but I remember about Casa City, because I think that was GTA 3. On the radio was quite a lot of mention of that, or maybe it was Vice City.
Well, Manhunt was after GTA 3.
Right, okay, so maybe it was Vice City then.
Either way, Casa City, rubbish, deadly place to live. Where I would never want to relocate to, even if 5-bedroom properties were significantly cheaper than in the affluent inner city areas. Number 16, Laszlo Jones. Now, US DJ Laszlo Jones has been in the series since GTA 3. He actually writes his own dialogue and he plays a role. His alter ego hosts V-Rock in Vice City. And Chatterbox in GTA 3, and he reports for Integrity FM in GTA 4.
I don't want to add to that. You're correct on all 3 counts.
Yes, correct. And I would add that he's going to be in GTA 5 if it wasn't for the fact that I haven't researched it, and I might be wrong. So once again, people, please put links out to whether that's true or not. I'm sure I've sort of read that, but don't want to say it's a fact. Number 17, The Law, and Rockstar's brushes with the law. During the GTA series history, Rockstar have been, largely unsuccessfully sued for over $1 billion, including a £246 million suit from lawyer Jack Thompson. Jack Thompson, I think we all have an opinion on Jack Thompson, Dan, don't we? Yes.
But we wouldn't like to air it.
No, not publicly. Jack Thompson, who sort of appeared in GTA 4 in a mission where Rockstar made it pretty clear what they actually thought of him. He wasn't portrayed in a heroic light.
No.
Let me put it that way. And he described GTA as a cop killing simulator.
Right.
Which is slightly, if not ironic, weird given that the game originally began as you play as a cop.
I wonder if GTA 5 will get the same level of controversial exposure when it gets released in September. I guess it depends what the sort of climate is like at that time, but imagine if GTA 5 had been released in the weeks following the shootings in America at the schools and stuff. You can imagine that it would have generated a lot of controversy. But I think, apart from the occasional crazy headline from the Mail or in some of the other tabloids, games seem to have generally been accepted a lot more for their content. I mean, generally. I mean, I know you occasionally get the.
I think slowly, it's been an acceptance. It's slipped into popular culture. I think it's also because games have been around for 30 years in this sort of current form, and a lot of us, we now, I'm obviously older than I was by virtue. That's the way time works. But there'd have been a lot of people who'd have grown up as, say, teenagers with games, and now would be the 30s, 40s, and in positions where they're actually controlling the news agenda, or they're working with journalists who are younger who've grown up with games. And that sort of era of hysterical sensationalism, essentially based on a lack of knowledge, isn't as strong as it was. So I think there's an element of that, but there's always going to be a sort of Fox News style narrative of this popular pop culture item is responsible for atrocity X.
Yeah.
Again, it's a complex area, and it's not really one we want to address in our fun facts.
No.
But I think, you know, like certainly Call of Duty, probably now by virtue of being the current visible most popular game in the world, becomes by de facto the scapegoat for all the problems.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think the game that's the most popular is usually the one that cops the most flack, and I guess it's that. The fun end to the tale is that Jack Thompson was disbarred by the Florida bar.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now frequents Florida bars. Probably.
Yeah, not necessarily legally correct, of course.
I mean, you know, just to pop in and have a mineral water is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
You know. Now, number 18, Scottish roots. Now, based in Edinburgh, Rockstar North's games are filled with references to Scottish culture. The rail bridge in San Fierro is based on the Forth Rail Bridge. There's a statue in GTA 3 with a traffic cone on his head, which is apparently a Glaswegian tradition, if not a
Is
British.
it?
Yeah, well, this was written by a man from Glasgow, so
Right,
whether he's
okay.
having a little jib at people from Edinburgh,
Right, okay.
we'll see. And there's a parody of Edge magazine, which you might know because it's from our stable of games publishing, and it's called Erse, and it's in Vice City.
Ah.
It's an Erse magazine.
Well, there you
Vice
go.
City. But in Scottish, which is not an official thing, it's pronounced like Erse, like arse.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
Yes. I'm terrible Scottish accent.
Right.
Can
Okay.
you do a Scottish accent?
No, I can't. No, I wouldn't want to attempt one either.
All right then.
But
Right.
but yeah, that's I never knew that.
Yeah, and one other little tidbit for you is a horse in San Andreas Betting's minigame called Nay Bother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading that. Yeah.
But nay, like nay.
Yeah.
It's a Scottish nay for you there.
Yeah.
Number 19, the Gant Bridge. And there's a sign near San Andreas' biggest structure, the Gant Bridge, which is based on San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. And it reveals some interesting facts. It's like a secret Easter egg poster within the game. And it's
Right.
made up of 15,000 polygons. It's got a 600 metre draw distance. Uses 11 textures and takes up, well, a staggering 1.27 bytes.
Right.
But as I say that, I'm looking at a monitor on our screen, and we've taken up 27.8 discussing this factoid, so
Yeah.
maybe that's not actually that impressive. But it's just one of dozens of fourth wall breaking Easter eggs in the series, including the hidden sign in GTA 3 that reads, we should all know this one, "You shouldn't be here, you know."
Right. Yeah.
So you could find that. So yeah, again, this is part of the reason why people love Rockstar's games, is that depth and intricacy and all that hidden stuff. And you know, again, if you're looking at real reasons why GTA 5 has been delayed, if you're building a universe of that size and actually making it detailed and putting
Yeah.
in mad stuff like this, that definitely takes time.
But no one found the Yeti, did they?
No, probably because the Yeti didn't actually exist.
That's true.
So
That's probably why they didn't find it.
probably why we haven't found the Loch
Yeah.
Ness Monster or aliens.
No, that's true as well.
I mean, heaven forbid an alien should come down now riding the Loch Ness Monster and
Yep.
he's here!
He's finally landed.
Yeah, he's definitely here, and that's not a Philharmonic Orchestra. Number 20, Scarface homage. Now, Rockstar are huge unashamed Scarface fans, and Vice City's version of 1980s Miami is directly inspired by Brian De Palma's legendary film. Now, the 80s throwback radio station in GTA 3 features songs from the soundtrack, and the game is full of homages, including Tommy's ostentatious red and black mansion, which is almost identical to Tony Montana's, well, in Scarface.
Yeah, I remember that. Wasn't there a mission as well where it was because there was the mission where he got the chainsaw as well, wasn't there?
There is, that I again can't remember. So
No.
post them links in, please.
Yeah, sorry. I just had a moment of panic then when I was like, or am I completely remembering it wrong? There was a chainsaw, wasn't there, in Vice City? Yes, there was. There was, Tim Weaver. Yes, there was.
Yes, that was my voice and not Tim's convincing himself. I think there was.
There definitely was.
Don't make me be wrong again publicly, Tim. I can't be wrong again.
Because obviously there's the chainsaw scene in Scarface as well.
Yes.
Anyway, just people out there, if there's a chainsaw in Vice City, I'm positive of it. And if I'm correct, please put in the comments, Tim Weaver is correct in capital letters. If I'm wrong, just don't mention it.
Maybe it was in there, Tim, in an early build, but they cut the mission.
They saw fit to cut it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Number 21. GTA 4 cost $100 million. $100 million. You can't see me putting my little finger on my mouth there. $100 million to make.
That's a staggering amount of money.
It's an awful lot of money. And in fact, up until about 2010, 2011, that made it the most expensive video game of all time.
What was the most expensive video game of all time, Dan?
Ah, well, we'll get to that. Just to put 100 million in context, GTA 5 is rumoured or being estimated to cost $137 million. So it's like kind of a 30% increase on what was the most expensive game of all time. And that's a claim by an analyst from a firm called Stern AG, which again sounds like I've been tricked by a typo. And again, for context, at the time the world's second most expensive video game was Gran Turismo 5, which was notoriously delayed, and that cost $80 million.
Okay, so look at GT5, Gran Turismo 5, right? You can imagine that cost $80 million because it was delayed so often, but also because they had to pay out so many license fees for cars and stuff.
Yeah.
So I wonder where that 100. Let's talk about GTA 5. I wonder where that $137 million goes, assuming it's correct.
I mean, I guess it goes on, given the level of research and detail and sort of cultural research they do, I bet they were paying years back. And I think they advertised it. Teams of researchers who were going out and just digging and digging and digging for facts on Los Angeles, the area. I bet they went around and they photographed like almost every square inch. I think the amount of prep work that goes in is probably staggering. I'm sure there's a natural element of inefficiency in their process.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pure speculation. I think that given the sort of idiosyncratic, from what we understand, idiosyncratic nature of GTA's development and the fact the game's quite full of personality and quite interesting, I'm guessing, this is purely guesswork, that large factors of the game's development probably aren't like completely signposted and set on the schedule. So I'm sure there's probably some inefficiency in the creation process. Yeah. And the gamble, and this is probably true of any game, and I think that the gamble is, and this certainly paid off for GTA 4 because that game's made over $500 million at retail alone. So they've more than tripled, if not quadrupled, the money they spent in the first place. Now, and I guess GTA 5 again, they're just sinking it into technology, into programming, into art creation, into testing. There's just so into licensing music, into doing partnership and content deals, creating. And this, I guess this doesn't even factor in what they're going to spend on marketing.
Yeah, well, they probably spend the same again on marketing.
I think that's not an unfair assumption.
And of course, one of the other things to factor in is that GTA 4 was based in Liberty City, aka New York. Rockstar's offices are based in New York, so we heard during development that when the development team in Scotland needed something to get clarification on something, the team in New York would go out and photograph it for them and then send back any photographs or information that the team needed. But of course in Liberty City, Los Santos, aka Los Angeles, it's on the other side of the country, so it's not as easy. So I guess that incurs extra costs, for the team to fly out there and that kind of thing. I mean, I'm sure that Rockstar do have a presence in LA, but probably not as significant as their presence in New York.
I mean, there's many reasons it would be expensive, but, and there's a massive but here, whilst GTA 4 was the most expensive game ever made, BioWare's incredible Star Wars The Old Republic is rumoured to have cost, well, can you guess, Tim, without actually reading what's on the piece of paper?
I'd say about $180 million.
Wowza, that's almost exactly correct. The estimate is between $150 and $200 million. The even more amazing fact about that game is that it's now actually free.
Yeah.
So the world's most expensive video game is free. In this crazed new world we live in, a free to play, which actually probably makes more sense in terms of the way people purchase and work now.
I mean, they will make some of that money back through the free to play model, but probably not 180 million.
That's a lot of coin. Again, for context, the most expensive movie ever made is believed to be Disney's, and I wouldn't call it a smash, John Carter.
Yeah, I would definitely not call that a smash. Well, if you think about it, though, I mean, like, very few films these days come close to costing what John Carter cost. If you get $100 million movie. You're talking like serious big budget blockbuster,
proper movie.
So that puts into context exactly how much, if these analysts' figures are to be believed, that puts into context $137 million and how much that is, even in the wider entertainment sphere, not just in games.
Well, John Carter's development figure is estimated at $300 million, which is 3 times the size of GTA 4 and like almost double and a bit what GTA 5 is rumored to cost.
Yeah.
I'm going to speculate and say I think GTA 5 will be more popular and have a more lasting legacy than John Carter.
John Carter from Mars, yeah.
For positive reasons.
Yeah.
This is an interesting bit of insight. This is number 22. Rockstar co-founder Sam Houser said associates who've worked with him describe him as, quote, a lunatic. And this was during an interview with the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
Now, again, this is all based on what the Wall Street Journal reports. And apparently, in 2007, Rockstar hired a spiritual healer to exorcise bad vibes in their office after the death of 2 fellow employees.
Really? That's interesting. Wow, what a fact.
Yeah, and apparently, well, it's again according to the Wall Street Journal, a woman wearing a long flowing garment strode through the office swinging crystals from a string.
Blimey.
To exorcise the bad vibes.
That is incredible. And yet at the same time, not something that I wouldn't expect Rockstar to do.
It sounds quite Rockstar-ish.
You know, we love the guys at Rockstar. We get on very well with them, but they are very they keep their cards very close to their chest and run a very, very tight ship to the point where it's quite difficult to kind of get any information out of them about their working culture. You know.
Yeah, I think perhaps rightly what a lot of developers do is they talk about their game and they talk about themselves and the development process. Where what Rockstar do is sort of make the game the hero and make that the Rockstar and make them the kind of like humble servants to the art, to the product, and it's and it's sort of indicative of their creative process. And again, why we love GTA games, because there's like a mystery and a mythology to how they work and who they are. I think if they were to like wheel out Johnny Fife, the art designer, and show him there going, "Oh man, I'm designing something," and it sort of takes from the mystique of it.
It does, yeah, absolutely.
And I think that they're very shrewd in that respect. So
I think mystique is absolutely the right word, and I think that's why people are so excited about GTA and why people want to know more about the people behind it, is because just exactly that, like getting hold of the houses for interviews is hard. It's really hard, and they only give a few interviews, and they only give them to massive, organisations like the Wall Street Journal.
Well, this comes from like 2008. This interview, so it's been effectively. I mean, Sam Houser's done other interviews in the 5 years since, but not that many.
Try and find some recent photographs of the Houser brothers as well. They literally never have their photograph taken. But people are still using that same photograph from like 2001 of, is it Dan or is it Sam standing on top of a New York?
Oh, I don't know.
New York skyscraper.
I have to start using that trick to hide my greying beard.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good trick actually, because you can disguise your greying beard and your expanding jowls. I think it's an excellent idea.
Stop. I must maintain focus to continue with fact
not you. I didn't mean you. I was
speaking
speaking for men of our esteemed age.
Said it now, Tim. Sam Houser claims actually, despite the image, he's quite a conservative chap, and the quote in the Wall Street Journal was, he says, "I have a panic attack if I get a parking ticket."
I bet he doesn't have that much of a panic attack though, because he can probably afford to pay it.
Yeah, I'm sure he probably goes, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
We're told. Number 23, Microsoft are rumoured to have paid, and this is an incredible figure in context of what we just talked about in terms of development costs, $50 million for 2 exclusive episodes of GTA 4 DLC, and for agreeing to release the game on Xbox at the same time as PS3.
See, that figure is huge. But what I'd really love to know, Dan, and I don't think you've got it there, is whether they ever made their money back on that $50 million.
Well, that's a great question.
I mean, I wonder if they came close to making that back. I can't remember how much either of those DLC episodes cost, but it was probably like 10, 12 quid.
So I thought it meant to make.
Oh, no, yeah. No.
We've had to cut back, Sam. We've done these ones on a tenner. Well, I lie to you, 12 actually.
10 or 12 quid each to make. No, to sold for 10 or 12 quid, 12 quid or whatever. I mean, I'd love to know how many they sold and how much, and whether Microsoft came close to making their money back. My suspicion is they probably did. I mean, if you think about how many copies GTA 4 sold, and even if you say like half the people who bought GTA 4 bought the DLC, that's still a lot of money.
I bet it was much less than that though. The thing is, well, it isn't interesting because we can't really see through it, is that digital sales, there's no like accepted mechanism for reporting digital sales. And this is the problem we had on a previous episode where we talked about PC sales of GTA 4, and people have pointed out in the comments correctly that that doesn't include digital downloads, and the problem was that we couldn't really get an accurate figure for digital downloads. And I actually did a bit of research at that time to find out from colleagues who work in the PC community, generally what does a game sell on digital download on PC versus retail. And I think the quote was, the figure could be anywhere between, say, 50% of the retail sales to, in fact, being as much, if not slightly more. So it just seems so imprecise.
Yeah.
It was very difficult to estimate, really.
Yeah.
I think the key thing for Microsoft was, even if that didn't make them money, it had like a halo effect for the entire Microsoft and Xbox brand. And it was when they were in the process of breaking down traditional Sony exclusives like Final Fantasy, Metal Gear Solid, and just trying to get them across to Xbox. And I think they had to do something as grandstanding as that to say we're on parity with Sony in terms of exclusives.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, Xbox was for a long time a massive loss leader for Microsoft anyway. So I'm sure another 50 million down the back of the sofa was not going to make that much of a difference to them.
I mean, and again, for Rockstar, what a profit! Boy!
Well, think about it. I mean, the development costs 100 million, say.
Well, 12 quid you just said, so 12 quid and 50 million pound profit.
100 million on those DLC. I wonder what they cost to develop. I don't know. Probably a fifth of that, maybe.
Yeah, it certainly wouldn't be 100 million.
So they're already making. If you split the difference, they're already making $30 million of their development costs back.
Wow, that's a lot of coins. Now, number 24. Sam and Dan Houser were once described as the kids on the island in The Lord of the Flies. Do you know who by?
Is it Mickey P? Mickey to the P?
It's Mickey P, famous analyst Michael Pachter. This is what he said at the time that EA were talking about launching a takeover bid for Take-Two and Rockstar. That was his quote about how he saw Sam and Dan Houser's role within Rockstar, and his quote was, "Are they manageable? ? No one knows."
Leaving aside the Lord of the Flies portion of that for a minute, are they manageable? No one knows. Well, no one does.
Yeah,
that is probably the truth, because as we said earlier, Rockstar operates such a tight ship and keep their cards so incredibly close to their chest that it is difficult to know how they would be, because they're not managed by anyone particularly at the moment, and it's difficult to say really, other than the Wall Street Journal calling him a lunatic, how Sam Houser and Dan Houser...
Journal, I don't want to misquote Sam Houser, Wall Street Journal quoted Sam Houser saying, "Colleagues of mine would describe me as a lunatic."
See, right, okay, fine, okay. But even so, it gives an insight into...
Yeah.
So, that second part of that is, I think, is fair enough. Are they manageable? No one knows, because no one does.
Now, during that, it didn't happen, that takeover, but Sam Houser did reveal that EA turned him down for a job in the late 1990s.
There you go.
Who's the big winner?
Whoops.
Who's taking 50 million off Microsoft for a £12 game?
Whoops. £12 development costs.
Now, number 25. Now, Dan and Sam Houser's father, Walter, he was a lawyer who part-owned the well-known London nightclub Ronnie Scott's.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, apparently, certainly Sam Houser, when he was at the club, he'd met jazz trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie,
right,
who's pretty famous.
Yeah.
Dizzy Gillespie had asked young Sam what he'd like to be when he grew up. Can you guess what he said?
Rockstar?
Close. He said, "I'd like to be a bank robber."
What?
So he claims.
Right. Okay. That's crazy talk, isn't it?
It's mythology.
That's
building.
maverick.
That's mythology.
Yeah,
building.
that is. That's great. That's the sort of thing you get on your Wikipedia page, where Wikipedia then mark up and say citation needed.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to the final and quite brilliant final point, number 26. And this is again a little bit of an insight into the time that EA were trying to buy Take-Two. And EA boss John Riccitiello introduced Sam Houser to, of all people, only Bono out of U2.
Oh, really?
And apparently John Riccitiello was absolutely amazed at Sam Houser's pop culture knowledge. And Bono and Sam Houser spent ages chatting away. And this meeting took place at the LA celebrity hotel hangout, the Chateau Marmont. And apparently John Riccitiello was quoted as saying they riffed on topics from who was the second drummer on a band from 25 years ago to who was the second camera on the Godfather movie.
There you go.
And from what Riccitiello had said, he said you only had to spend an hour or two with Sam Houser to acknowledge he was sort of as intelligent as someone like Bono or Spielberg. He had that breadth of knowledge and sort of pop culture zeitgeist appeal.
Well, you can see that sort of threaded throughout their games, can't you? They're very good at encapsulating the moment, aren't they? So
absolutely, and again, a further testament to their success is that they're not reading out over the internet 26 pop facts about my career.
Hey Dan, don't knock it. Don't knock it. They might do one day.
Yeah.
Maybe when GTA 5 o'clock goes stratospheric.
Yeah, Sam. So if you're listening and you want to read out 26, in fact, don't research my life on the internet. I've got to do a thorough purge first. I haven't been very media savvy.
You've also got to make your own Wikipedia page, Dan.
Yeah, and also
crack
that,
yeah.
Also that. So, and that brings us neatly to the end of a fact-stuffed GTA 5 o'clock. Now, I know that hasn't strictly been a lot of GTA 5 talk. As Tim says, and I honestly am not joking, I think we're on the cusp of a very exciting announcement for the show. I'm scared to say anything just yet because if it doesn't materialise, I'll be peeling several layers of egg off my face.
Yeah.
And also, something is worth mentioning, but I don't want to labour it because we might be proof fools within a few hours. If you're listening to this at GTA 5's proper slot or 5 o'clock on a Wednesday, this very night, Sony are tipped to unveil PlayStation 4. Given that I previously speculated that GTA 5 will appear on PlayStation 4 at some stage, I'll only posit the question, could tonight be the night where something is talked about? Maybe not, and I don't want to pin any sort of tattered pieces of credibility I've got left on it, but we'll see. I think it's really interesting. If you are listening to this at around about evening on Wednesday, see if you can stay awake UK time 11 PM GMT to see Sony's PS4 unveiling.
Okay, thanks Dan, thanks for those facts. Thank you all for listening. Do subscribe to GTA 5 o'clock and make sure you don't miss an episode. It will be particularly important in a couple of weeks' time when we're hoping for our next big episode. Please put your comments in the thread. We'd love to hear from you. We always read your comments, even the ones that slag us off. Especially the ones that slag us off. We're trying to find your home address now. So thanks. No, I'm joking. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Cheers.